reality of your lives that comes through in the play. And thank you for being with us. May the words of my mouth that proceed from the meditation of my heart be acceptable in the heart of those gathered here and in the heart of the universe. Amen. All classes of people under social pressure are permeated with a common experience. They are emotionally welded as others cannot be. With them, even ordinary living has epic depth and lyric intensity. And this, their material handicap, is their spiritual advantage. Welcome to our time together today, our message, our sermon, our first sermon and message during the Black History Month, 2024. Carnegie Woodson was very wise in saying there needed to be time set aside to look more seriously into the legacy and the journey of people of African descent in this country. So he initiated Negro History Week in 1926, the time to look deeply with scholarship into the African American journey. For this story of the African American journey is intertwined with the story of this nation, a nation that has too easily denied, destroyed, and desecrated the journey and the extraordinary accomplishments, achievements, and contributions that African peoples have made to this nation. Carter Woodson's desire was to erode the ignorance surrounding that journey and give due respect to the ancestry of a people kidnapped from their own land, their own nation, and brutally brought to a strange land. And yet, in many instances, these folks not only survived, but thrived. He, along with W.E.B. Du Bois, were very concerned about the fact that young black people didn't seem to know much about their heritage, about their history. That is not surprising because it certainly was not taught in our schools. And they wanted to do something about it. Well, this sermon is kind of different. It is what my Alain professor, or preaching professor, called a patchwork sermon or message. You put a patch here, put a patch here, and you hope that somehow they get sewn together. That may not happen, but I hope that it does. One patch. From his spiritual depth and imagination, Howard Thurman describes the journey from the old land and the worldview of the people coming from that old land. From my cabin window, I look out on the full moon, and the ghosts of my forefathers rise and fall with the undulating waves. Across these same waters, how many years ago they came. the inchoate memories locked tight within the circle of their hearts. In the deep, heavy darkness of the foul-smelling hold of the ship, where they cannot see the sky, nor hear the night noises, nor feel the warm compassion of the tribe, they held their breath against the agony. How does the human spirit accommodate itself to desolation? How did they? What tools of the Spirit were in their hands with which to cut a path through the wilderness of their despair? If only death of the body could come to deliver the soul from dying, there would be no pain in pain. If some sacred taboo had been defiled and this extended terror was a consequence, there were rituals to deal with that reality. If some creature of the vast and pulsing jungle had snatched the life away, even this, in its wildest fear, would be floated by the familiarity of the daily hazard. If death had come, being ushered into life by a terrible paroxysm of pain, all the assurance of the way of tribe would have carried the spirit home on the wings of precious ceremony and holy ritual. But this, nothing anywhere in all the myths and all the stories and all the ancient memory of the race had given hint of this torturous convulsion. There were no gods to hear, no magic spell or witch doctor to summon. Even one's companion in chains uttered his quivering misery in a tongue unknown and a sound of the murder. Oh, my fathers, what was it like to be stripped of all supports of life, save the beating of the heart and the ebb and flow of thin air and lungs? In a strange moment, when you suddenly caught your breath, did some intimation from the future give to your spirits a wink of promise? In the darkness, did you hear the silent feet of your children beating a melody of freedom to words which you would never know, in a land in which your bones would be warmed again in the depth of the cold earth, in which you would speak, unknown, unrealized, and alone? When Thurman talked about those who were in chains, who muttered their quivering misery and time unknown and the sound of murder, he was talking about the intentional way the slaves were brought from different family or tribal groups so they could not communicate. This is part of the process of tearing communities and people apart. So you have people from different tribal groups mixed together so they could not communicate. There'd be no community. Now, a patch of painful aspiration. Frances Harper was born in 1825. She was born free. Her parents were free. And she ended up being the first Black woman to publish a novel. She had gained a reputation throughout the land for her poetry and for the fact that she was very present in movements for abolition, for the abolition of slavery. for women's rights, for temperance. A lot of her work was discovered this past century and reproduced. I just received all of her complete works, and I certainly treasure it. But she was able, even as a free person, to empathize with those who are not free, to understand their pain, their loneliness, their aspirations. And so she writes this poem, The Dying Bondman, Bondman. Life was trembling, faintly trembling, on the bondsman's latest breath. And he felt the chilling pressure of the cold, hard hand of death. He had been an African chieftain, worn his manhood as a crown, but upon the field of battle had been fiercely stricken down. He had longed to gain his freedom, waited, watched, and hoped in vain, till his life was slowly ebbing. Almost broken was his chain. By the bedside stood the master, gazing on the dying one, knowing by the dull great shadows that life's sands were almost done. Master, said the dying bondman, home and friends I soon shall see. But before I reach my country, Master, write that I am free. For the spirits of my fathers would shrink back from me in pride if I told them at our meeting, I, a slave, had lived and died. Give to me the precious token that my kindred dead may see. Master, write it quickly. Master, write that I am free. At this earnest plea, the master wrote for him the great release. Over his wand and wasted figures, flitted one sweet smile of peace. To rest, peace, excuse me. Eagerly he grasped the writing. I am free at last, he said. Backward fell upon the door. He was free among the dead. She also wrote in terms of her own desires, bury me in a free land. Make me a grave where'er you will, in a lonely plain or lofty hill. Make it among earth's humblest graves, but not a land where men are slaves. I could not rest if around my grave I heard the steps of a trembling slave. His shadow above my silent tomb would make it a place of fearful gloom. I could not rest if I heard the tread of a coffin gainer to the shingles leather, and the mother's shriek of wild despair, like a curse on the trembling air. I could not sleep if I saw the lash drinking her blood at each fearful dash, and I saw her babes torn from her breast, like trembling doves from the parents' nest. I'd shudder and start if I heard the bay of bloodhounds ceasing their human prey. And I heard the captain plead in vain as they bound afresh his galling chain. If I saw young girls from their mother's arms, borrowed and sold for their so charms. My eye was flashed with a wonderful flame. My death pale cheek grow red with shame. I will sleep, dear friends, where buried night can rob no man of his dearest right. My rest shall be calm in any grave where none can call his brother a slave. I ask no monument, proud and high, to rest the days of the passers by. All that my yearning spirit craves is buried me not in a land of slaves. Again, Alain Locke says, all people, all classes of people under social pressure are permeated with a common experience, are emotionally welded as others cannot be. With them, even ordinary living has epic depth and epic intensity. And this, their material handicap, is their spiritual advantage. Hash 3, affirming life within oppression. Many people talk about Dr. Howard Thurman's connection to nature as being foundational to his being. And that is true. That connection is very, very important. He's talking about this oak tree, how he looked at the night sky, and how he could think like Locke was thinking. All of this is true. And at the same time, there's another element that was foundational for Howard thinking, and that was the spirit. The Negro spirit was foundational. And he said that however depressed he might have been, when he heard those spirituals, thank you, Dr. Benton, when he heard those spirituals, something happened in him, and he knew that he could stand anything that life could bring him. All the racism he was able to deal with because he had his foundation in these words, these songs, these melodies, these harmonies that came from the enslaved people who were his ancestors. He speaks of the spiritual deep river. He says, the fascination of the flowing stream is a constant source of wonder and beauty to the sensitive mind. It was everlasting. The restless movement, the hurrying, ever-changing stream, has always been the bearer of the longings and the yearnings of humanity for a land beyond the horizon, whose dreams are fulfilled, deepest desires are satisfied. It is not to be wondered at that in this scripture there is a happy blending of majestic rhythm and poignant yearning. The river, my home, is over Jordan. He continues, this is perhaps the most universal in insight and certainly the most intellectual of all the spirituals. In one bold stroke, it thinks of life in terms of a river. The analogy is complete in the first place because a river has a very simple beginning. It increases in momentum, in depth, in breadth, and turbulence as it cuts a broad, deep channel across the continent. It is the nature of the river to flow. It is always moving, always in process, always on its way. Life is like that. Life on this planet began as long trek across the eons in its simple single cell form in far-off ages in some primeval ocean bed. Your life and my life began as a single form, moving through varying stages of prenatal fulfillment, until by a great climatic spasm, you and I were born. Our life represents the essential process. The analogy is complete again because a river has times of flood. Through melting snows and heavy rainfall, the channel sometimes becomes swollen. The river that once was full of peace and quiet balance, burning on its bosom so much to sustain and make glad life in man, becomes a wild, unrestrained monster. It is There is a time of anguish, tragedy, a time of the swelling of waters. The answer is a larger opening to the sea. The analogy completes itself. The river has a goal, and the goal is the sea. It is from the sea that the river comes. It is to the sea that the river goes. Life is like that. The goal of life is God. The source of life is God. Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, I want to cross over into Canada. Passport. Today is Rosa Parks' birthday. February the 4th, 1913 was her birthday. She was born in Tuskegee, Alabama. She attended rural schools there until the age of 11. But before that, her mother taught her a good deal about sewing. She started piercing quilts from the age of 6 as her mother and grandmother were making quilts. Putting her first quilt together by herself around the age of 10, which is very unusual. And it was unusual because quilting was normally a family activity, but she did this by herself. She learned more about sewing in school from the age of 11 and sewed her own first dress she could wear. Rosa Parks was a seamstress and secretary of the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. That's what she was doing when she defied bus driver James Blix ordered to vacate a row of 4 seats in the colored section in favor of a white passenger once the white section was filled. And was this a personal statement that Rosa Parks was making by refusing? Was she just too tired, as some people have suggested? No. Emphatically, no. She knew what she was doing. She had been an activist at least since 1943 with the NAACP and had recently attended training sessions at the Heidelberg Health Center in Tennessee, which trained activists for workers' rights and racial equality. It was a threat to Southern society. Martin Luther King also studied there. So was she a mystic, revolutionary, or both? As a mystic, she experienced the current situation in public transportation to be demeaning. It undercut the unity of all of creation and its creatures. From her faith background in the African American Episcopal Church, AME Church, she knew that such segregation was against the oneness demonstrated in the life of Jesus of Nazareth. As revolutionary, she knew that the present situation was detrimental to the masses of people. It was an old order that needed to be swept away for a new, more just and compassionate reality. Unraveling the tapestry. I've been around for a while. There was a time in 1968 when we thought we were there. The promised land was before us. The new order was coming into being. A new world was being born. Black history is not just a time to look back, it's also a time to look forward. What must tomorrow be? What part do I play? And yet there are daily bombings against Palestinians, Draconian laws being passed preventing the search for freedom from nations, searching for nations near our southern border. People whose flight in many cases is due to our nation's intervention in their own countries. Transgender rights are denied, women's rights are to control their bodies and lives now rest with reactionary politicians. Deceit and lies abound, wars abound, and we keep funding them while refusing to help those in need in this country. I must say my spirits were lifted yesterday at a breakfast for Genesis, and there were two young black women who spoke who were just tremendous. One was the teen poet laureate of Woodson. The other one is in Restored Justice, words with Finding Davis, a soil that's taken up with Finding Restored. This is important because it lifted my spirits from where I was going, which I still want to share with you, because it comes from the writings of Dr. King. Sometimes we just think things are going to happen automatically, and they aren't. King reminds us we are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. Over the bleached bones and jungle residues of numerous civilizations are written the words, too late. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully requires our vigilance or our neglect. The moving finger writes, and having written, moves on. We still have a choice today: nonviolent coexistence or violent annihilation. This may well be mankind's